Heartwarming moment. Millionaire discovers little girl's plea and transforms their lives forever. Jack Thompson sat alone in a sleek, glass office high above the buzzing streets of New York City. At 45, he was a self-made millionaire, yet the distant roar of the traffic below felt like a hollow echo in the cavern of his heart. Jack often found himself gazing out at the world, burdened by a gnawing emptiness that money couldn't fill. His thoughts drifted back to the small rural town in Kansas where he grew up, where the fields had whispered secrets of dreams and determination. One dreary afternoon, while cleaning out dust-laden boxes in his office, Jack stumbled upon a letter, yellowed with age, addressed to him. Its fragile paper felt like a portal, transporting him back to simpler times. Unfolding it, he read the desperate words of a little girl named Chloe. She wrote about her family's fight to save their failing farm, how they had poured their hearts into their crops and their community. Her sweet words bled hope and heartache, igniting memories of working hand in hand with his parents on their modest farm. The flicker of nostalgia began to morph into a flame of guilt. Who was he to forget? With every stroke of Chloe's pen, Jack could almost feel the warmth of the sun and taste the fresh earth beneath his nails. He realized in that moment that he had a choice to make. Guilt twisted inside him, urging him to act. He decided to return to Chloe's town, that forgotten relic of his past, to help. As he drove through the quaint streets, memories rolled in with every mile. But when he arrived, the warmth of welcome was absent. The townsfolk eyed him skeptically, their whispers revealing a garden of mistrust. What does a millionaire know about our struggles? One wondered aloud, and Jack felt their judgment wash over him like ice water. He approached Chloe's family, their farm like a storybook told in shades of green and brown. Just as he thought he was gaining their trust, fate took a cruel turn. Chloe's father collapsed a heart attack. Panic raced through him as he watched the family unravel. Without hesitation, Jack slipped on his boots, becoming a substitute farmhand, embracing the sweat and toil he had long left behind. As days turned into weeks, Jack poured every ounce of himself into the land. They shared laughter and tears, and for a moment, Jack felt like he belonged. Just when he finally began to connect with Chloe's mother, the skies turned dark, mirroring the heaviness in his chest. A storm approached, fierce and unrelenting, threatening to sweep away everything in its path, including their fragile bond. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Jack knew he had to act, to rally the community for a fundraising meeting. Tension grew, old resentments ripping through the air. The winds howled like angry spirits as the storm rolled in, threatening their future. Would his determination to save Chloe's family's farm unite them, or would it drive them apart? As the storm raged outside, Jack faced a storm within, wrestling with his doubts and fears. Can a man born from privilege truly become one of them? The choices ahead loomed large, pulling at the threads of hope and despair, his presence sparking questions that left an urgency in the air. With Chloe clinging to hope at his side, they stood on the precipice of transformation, ready to face whatever fate would throw their way. The wind howled violently, rattling the windows of the farmhouse as Jack gathered the townsfolk for the meeting. A sense of urgency hung in the air, thick and heavy, just like the storm clouding the sky. They filed into the old barn, a building that had seen better days, and Jack could almost hear the echoes of laughter and life from years past. Now, the atmosphere was tense, an electric current running through the crowd's murmurs and glances. Jack stood at the front, heart racing. The faces before him were a tapestry of skepticism and weary hope, people who had poured their lives into this land and felt abandoned by those like him. He swallowed hard, fighting against the urge to turn back. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steady, even as thunder rolled above. Chloe sat at the front, her wide, trusting eyes focused on him. She felt like a beacon of light in that shadowy room. Jack glanced at her mother, who sat with her hands clasped tightly in her lap, an island of silence amid the whispers. "I know I'm not from this community anymore," he continued, "but I want to help. We can rally together to save your farm." The silence was palpable, broken only by the distant crash of lightning. Then a voice broke through. "Why should we trust you? You're just a rich man, trying to play savior." Jack felt the sting of those words, the truth in them. How could he explain the warmth that had returned with those memories? The soft smiles during long days of work? "Because I was once where you are. I grew up in a small town, working the fields, sharing laughter with my family. I remember what it means to struggle. I want to give that feeling back." Murmurs rippled through the group, some nodding hesitantly, others remaining unmoved. He could feel the invisible walls they had built around themselves, brick by brick, to protect against disappointment. Just as Jack was about to speak again, Chloe raised her hand timidly. "Can we really save it?" Her small voice carried a weight that pierced the tension. Every adult in the room turned to her, their hearts softening at the sight of her innocence and sincerity. "Absolutely," Jack said, kneeling down to her level.
"But I need all of you, too."
"We can organize fundraisers, reach out to local businesses, and share our stories. Together, we can show them how important this farm is to us all." A few heads nodded, a flicker of belief beginning to spark in the crowd. But Jack knew that wasn't enough. There were still staunch skeptics. "Let us set a date for the first fundraiser," he pressed on, eyes darting from face to face. "We can make a difference. We can prove that we're not just fighting for a piece of land, but for our community." The air buzzed with uncertainty, but something shifted. A woman near the back stood up, tentatively. "I can organize a bake sale. My sister runs a cafe," she said, her voice stronger than before. Others began chiming in, a seed of collaboration sprouting. Jack felt a swell of hope welling up inside him, realizing that maybe, just maybe, they were all beginning to see light through the storm. As they discussed plans, the storm outside raged on. Jack caught Chloe's gaze, and for a moment, he saw in her a reflection of the little boy who had once sought hope in the fields. This was more than just about saving a farm, it was about finding a true family again. Yet, in the back of his mind, doubt lingered. What if their efforts weren't enough? As he stepped outside after the meeting, he glanced up at the dark clouds, uncertainty gnawing at him. Would they succeed, or would the storm wash away these fragile glimmers of hope? Behind him, laughter resonated throughout the barn, a stark contrast to the thunder rumbling above. In that moment, Jack realized he wasn't just battling a storm in the sky, he was fighting a deeper storm within himself. The true question lingered. How much was he willing to sacrifice to prove he belonged? As he stood in the swirling winds, Jack took a deep breath and vowed to weather whatever came next for the sake of his newfound family. But as he turned toward the barn, the lightning flashed, illuminating a hidden figure watching from the shadows, leaving Jack with a sense of dread. Who was it, and what did they want? As Jack stepped back into the barn, his heart raced. The camaraderie building within those walls almost glowed amidst the encroaching storm outside. But the shadow of that hidden figure lingered in his mind, like a dark omen. He scanned the room, trying to shake the feeling that something was brewing just beyond his sight. Chloe was still there, her laughter mingling with the others, a welcomed sound against the thunder-esque growl. He couldn't help but smile at her joy, the way it radiated warmth, pushing back against the chill of doubt creeping into his heart. Her laughter felt like a beacon, a reminder of why he was there. The townsfolk were buzzing with ideas. "I can make jams. My grandmother's recipe is famous," someone shouted. Heads nodded, excitement building like a tide. People were catching a glimpse of what could be possible, a future woven together by shared passion and hope. Jack took a breath, steadying himself as he climbed up onto a makeshift platform. "Let us gather our ideas," he called out. "We'll write them down, spread them out. We can create a plan that shows just how strong we are when we stand together." Chloe jumped up, clapping her hands.
Yes.
And we can have a talent show. Everyone can join. Her enthusiasm was infectious. What started as a simple meeting began transforming into a celebration of community, laughter starting to drown out the storm outside. As the ideas flowed, Jack felt his own fears slowly dissipate. This was it. This was what it meant to belong. He could see it in their faces: resilience, determination, glimmers of hope sparked by collaboration. But in the back of his mind, a persistent worry nagged at him. What if outside forces threatened this fragile journey? Just as he was about to raise his voice again, the barn door swung open. Wind whipped through the space, bringing with it a blast of chill that swept the laughter away. Everyone flinched and turned, the once harmonious gathering now filled with murmurs of shock. Jack's heart threatened to leap right out of his chest. In the doorway stood a figure, a woman, clad in a dark trench coat, her face obscured by the brim of her hat. "I'm looking for Jack Thompson," she said, her voice cold and sharp enough to cut through the growing warmth. Jack's stomach dropped as he stepped forward, the hope in the room swirling into uncertainty. "I'm Jack," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady, but he felt the collective breath of the crowd hold tightly. The woman narrowed her eyes, scanning him like she was weighing his worth. "We need to talk," she continued, her tone revealing little. "It's not just about the farm." Jack's pulse quickened. The stakes had suddenly risen. The town's hopes rested not only on the upcoming fundraiser, but now potentially on whatever this stranger had to say. With a cautious nod, he stepped outside to meet her, the storm still roaring like an angry beast behind him. As he faced her in the biting wind, he couldn't shake the feeling that his world was about to tilt again.
Who are you?
He asked, needing to know if she brought news of salvation or destruction. When she opened her mouth to speak, Jack braced himself for what could change everything. "Let me tell you about the people who want to buy your land." What did she mean by that? Would they threaten everything he had fought for? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him as he felt the lurking dread reemerge like a black wave. The wind howled around them, biting at Jack's skin as he squared his shoulders against the cold. The woman's gaze was unyielding, and in her eyes, he detected a mix of urgency and something else, perhaps desperation.
Who are they?
Jack managed to say, forcing the words through the knot tightening in his throat. "Why do they want the farm?" "The Harvest Corporation," she said firmly. "They want to buy this land to turn it into a resort." Jack felt the color drain from his face. Their dreams of community seemed to shatter in an instant. "I refuse to sell," he declared, clenching his fists. The barn, the laughter, the ideas, they all flashed in his mind like a vibrant tapestry. He couldn't let them rip it apart. The woman studied him, her expression softening just a fraction. "I know this is hard to hear," she continued, her voice lowering. "But they have money. A lot of it. They're interested not just in your farm but in the whole area. If you don't sell, they might set their sights on the townsfolk." To the punch of her words made Jack take a step back. His mind raced with the implications. Did she mean they would pressure everyone? How could this happen in his hometown? The discontent simmering outside the barn felt closer now, pressing around him like a vice. "So, what are you suggesting?" Jack asked, shaking his head. There had to be more. There had to be some way to fight back. "I can help you," she said, suddenly seeming less like a dark specter and more like an ally. "I used to work for them until I learned what they were really after. I know their playbook. They'll try to entice you with offers you can't refuse. They know how to play the pressure game. But there are ways to push back." "What do you mean?" His voice was barely above a whisper, hope flickering in his chest despite the looming threat. "We need to rally the community. Show them this land means more than just dollars and cents. We've got to get the townspeople involved to create a united front." Her eyes were bright now, full of fire. Jack felt a spark of determination within him. Maybe they could fight this, but it wouldn't just be his fight. It would be theirs. "All right," he breathed, a newfound sense of purpose taking hold. "I'll speak to them. We'll come together." "Good," she nodded, crossing her arms. "But remember, They won T back down easily. You have to be prepared for their tactics. If you can gather enough support, you might just stand a chance. As she turned to leave, Jack hesitated, his heart racing again. Wait, he called out. What is your name? Call me Avery, she replied over her shoulder, pulling her coat tighter around her as the wind picked up. And remember, this is just the beginning. Jack watched as she vanished into the shadows of the stormy night. He turned back toward the barn, adrenaline pumping through him. As he stepped back inside, the atmosphere felt altered. A weight hung in the air, but so did a shimmering thread of defiance.
Jack.
Chloe's voice sliced through the tension. The way she looked at him, the concern and curiosity mixing, created an ache in his chest. He took a deep breath, stepping onto the platform once more. Everyone, he called, summoning their attention. We need to talk about our future. Jack could already see the question in their eyes, the uncertainty. But he knew, right then, that he had to lead them, he had to make them believe. But as he prepared to share the danger ahead, the storm outside began to rage more fiercely. Would his message ignite their spirit or drown it in fear? He steeled himself. This was just the beginning of their fight. What would happen when the winds of change collided with the town's hopes? The wind rattled the barn doors, a reminder of the brewing storm outside. Jack's heart raced as he met the eyes of his friends and neighbors. They deserved the truth. He had to find the right words that would ignite their spirits rather than send them spiraling into despair. Listen up, everyone. I just spoke with someone who knows what is happening with the Harvest Corporation, he began, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. The crowd shifted, their expressions fluctuating between curiosity and fear. They want our land, he continued, commitment lacing his words. They want to tear apart everything we've built here, this community, our homes, our way of life. They're coming after us all. Murmurs of shock rippled through the group. Jack could see the flicker of worry in Chloe's eyes as she leaned against the wooden post, her hands clenched tight. But we can stand together. We can fight, he urged, feeling hope rising in him. Avery, he paused, searching for the right way to explain.
She used to work for them.
She knows their tactics. This corporation thrives on division, on fear. But if we unite, if we show them we're stronger together, we can turn the tide. A voice from the back called out, but what if they don't back down? What if they offer us money we can't refuse? The question hung heavy over the group, silence stretching like the dark clouds outside. Jack took a breath. I get it. Money is tempting, especially when times are tough. But this isn't just about dollars and cents. He looked around the barn, meeting the eyes of everyone there. It's about our future, our children's future, our dreams. When I look at this place, I see more than just fields and buildings. I see laughter and love. I see you all. Wouldn't it be worth fighting for? The barn fell silent, the wind howling outside, as if urging them to respond. He caught Chloe's gaze, a spark of belief blooming in her eyes. The encouragement felt electric, igniting a plan in his heart. We need to organize. A meeting, a demonstration. We can reach out to everyone in town. Everyone deserves to know what's at stake. His voice gained momentum, desperate for them to see the weight of this fight. Someone raised their hand. You really think we can reach everyone?
People are scared.
Of course, they're scared, Jack replied, feeling the heaviness settle back in. Change is scary. But we can't let fear dictate our lives. Let us show them what our land means. We have to rally everyone before it's too late. Chloe stepped forward, her voice steady. I'll help. We can start with the families in town. Make them understand that this land is our home. The murmurs of agreement rose softly among the crowd. Jack's heart swelled. One by one, voices joined in. They spoke of strategies, potential allies, and ways to gather support. Each little thing they proposed pulled the community tighter together. But as their voices grew louder, a dark shadow loomed outside. The storm intensified, rattling the barn's old frame, echoing the very chaos they planned to confront. When Jack felt a chill run down his spine, he looked toward the doors.
We need to work fast.
They won't wait for us to figure this out. With a renewed sense of mission, they hammered out the next steps. As he glanced around, Jack realized he was no longer just a farmer. He was a leader. But as they made their plans, a distant rumble echoed in the air. It wasn't just thunder. The question lingered. Would the storm they faced unite them or tear them apart? Jack felt the stakes rising higher. He glanced at Chloe, her determination shining bright. But could they really withstand what was coming? Would their resolve hold when the first test arrived? There was only one way to find out. As the storm's fury swirled outside, Jack felt a surge of energy in the barn, an electricity that hadn't been there before. Conversations filled the space, urgent and passionate. Ideas flew like sparks in a fire, igniting a solid resolve among the gathered townsfolk. Jack marveled at how quickly they had shifted from fear to determination. "Okay, listen," he urged, raising his hands to gather attention.
We need to be smart about this.
We can't just react. We need a plan that shows the Harvest Corporation how serious we are. Chloe leaned toward him, her brow furrowed in thought. "What about a peaceful demonstration?" she suggested. "If we can gather everyone in the town square, we can show them our numbers. They can't ignore us if we stand united." Jack nodded, her words feeling like a rallying cry. "Absolutely. We'll show them our community, every man, woman, and child who calls this place home. We can write signs, tell our stories. We need to remind them of who we are." The crowd murmured in agreement, voices rising in excitement. The air shifted, and hope began to replace doubt like the first rays of sun breaking through the clouds. As Jack glanced around, he saw familiar faces: Henry, the old blacksmith, Maria, with her ever-encouraging smile, even the young kids who would join in at their parents' side. Their resolve was contagious, fueling Jack's determination. He felt a wave of gratitude for the circle of people who were willing to fight alongside him. But in the back of his mind, he couldn't dismiss the ominous rumble that continued to echo through the barn. What awaited them once they stepped into the light? He swallowed hard, trying to suppress the doubt creeping in. "Let us set a date," he exclaimed, his voice rising above the hum. "Tomorrow evening, we'll gather everyone at the square. I'll put together flyers, and we can spread the word." Chloe shifted on her feet, her voice catching slightly. "Jack, what if it doesn't work? What if we can't convince them? We have to believe," he replied, a fierceness rising in him. "If we show them we're willing to stand up for what we love, then they'll have no choice but to consider us. This is our chance." The wind howled outside, shaking the barn harder. Each gust felt like a personal challenge, an embodiment of the conflict brewing just beyond their doors. Yet, there in the barn, Jack could feel the warmth of camaraderie enveloping him. As the meeting began to wrap up, Jack began wondering about Avery, the woman who had once walked in the corporate world, now threatening their very existence. What had driven her to leave? What insights could she offer? Before we finish up, he called out, "I think we should try and reach out to Avery. Her experience could give us the upper hand. If she knows how this corporation operates, we may gain a crucial advantage." The group exchanged glances, a mix of uncertainty and hope shimmering in the air. Would Avery be willing to help? Could they trust her? Chloe's voice broke through the muttering. "I think it's a brilliant idea. We need all the information we can get." Jack felt the solidity of their unity strengthening again, but uncertainty flickered deep inside him. Would Avery align with their cause? And if she did, what would it mean for the corporation's plans? Jack's heart raced as he contemplated reaching out and the potential fallout. Tomorrow's demonstration was just the first battle. The real test loomed closer. With the crowd dispersing, the storm outside reached a deafening crescendo. Jack realized they were heading into a fight that might change everything, and he prayed they were ready. What would tomorrow bring? Would they stand tall together, or find themselves torn apart in the tempest? Jack took a deep breath as the wind howled against the barn walls, a solemn reminder of the trials that awaited them. As dawn broke, the storm had settled into a whisper, leaving a softened earth beneath the town's feet. But Jack felt the heaviness of anticipation in the air, a weight that had settled like thick mist. He threw on his jacket and stepped outside, the fresh, cool breeze brushing against his skin.
Today was the day.
He could already see familiar faces beginning to gather in the town square as he approached. Each person was a thread in the fabric of their community. Henry was setting up a makeshift stage, while Maria distributed flyers to anyone who would take them. Kids dashed around, their laughter bouncing off buildings, but Jack's heart pounded with the seriousness of the task ahead. "All right, everyone, let us get together," Jack called out, trying to keep the energy high. He watched as the townsfolk formed a circle, their faces reflecting a mixture of determination and nervousness. Jack cleared his throat, feeling the surge of responsibility. "Today, we're showing up for each other. We're showing Harvest Corporation that we are more than just numbers to them. We are a community." Chloe emerged from the crowd, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I made some signs.
With our stories on them.
Every story counts." She held up a banner that read, "We are united. We are strong." The others cheered in response. Jack felt a rush of pride at the sight. Suddenly, a thought struck him like lightning. What if they could gather all the personal stories? Videos to share on social media, tales of families and dreams and heartbreaks that made this place special. "Let us capture our voices," he shouted. "We need to remind them of the heart behind this community." The group buzzed with ideas. People volunteered to take turns sharing their experiences or to film snippets of each other. They rallied as the sun climbed higher, its rays warming their spirits. Laughter erupted as parents shouted for their children to focus. Volunteers hefted signs overhead and all around. Hope painted the square in vibrant colors. But in the middle of the excitement, Jack's thoughts drifted to Avery. Would she show up? Would she stand by them? There was a chance that this gathering might make her reconsider where her loyalties lay. What if she could be the ace up their sleeve? "Hey, remember," he said, pulling everyone's focus again. "Let us be genuine. The more we share, the stronger our message will be. This isn't about anger, it's about love for home." A moment of silence followed his statement, the weight of truth hanging heavily in the air. Jack hoped they all understood that fighting back was about more than just keeping a company at bay. It was about preserving their lives, their stories. As he smiled at the gathering crowd, the whispers of uncertainty began to fade within him. He watched a young girl hold a sign with a shaky hand, her small frame unwavering. Her innocence struck a chord in him. She didn't understand the complexities of corporate power, but loved her home with pure, unfiltered passion. "Let us put a face to this fight," Jack said, a fierce determination lighting his eyes. "Every person here is a part of the pulse of this town. We want to be silenced. We want to be defeated." Cheers erupted, the energy shifting into something electric. But in the back of Jack's mind, apprehension still gnawed at him. As they would take their stand, would Avery help them turn the tide? What if they were not enough to confront the looming corporate giant? Just as he was about to take the stage and rally the crowd, he caught a glimpse of a familiar figure approaching from the distance. His heart skipped a beat. Was it her? As the crowd's excitement grew, so did his anticipation. Jack clenched his fists, his emotions swirling inside. If today was truly their moment, he hoped it would be the spark that ignited change. Would Avery join their ranks, or would her past hold her back? The question hung in the air as a new chapter of their struggle threatened to unfold. Jack's heart raced as the figure drew closer, and recognition washed over him like a wave. Avery was there, her familiar silhouette unmistakable. For a moment, he felt paralyzed, his thoughts tangled in hope and fear. What if she had come to help? But what if she remained loyal to Harvest Corporation? The crowd pulsed with energy, all eyes turning to the stage as Jack stepped forward, the sunlight glinting off the makeshift platform's edge. He met Avery's eyes, and for a brief second, time felt suspended. She gave him a small nod, her expression unreadable, yet somehow filled with purpose. It reignited the flicker of hope within him, like a pilot light waiting to blaze. "Let us welcome someone who knows this community well," Jack called out, motioning for her to join him. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd, and Jack felt both warmth and tension as she moved toward him, her feet steady despite the weight of uncertainty. "Thank you for being here," Jack said genuinely. "Today, isn't just about us. It's about every voice that has shaped our lives here." The crowd erupted in applause, and Jack felt the electricity buzz in his bones. It was a reminder of the strength they had together. Avery stood at the microphone, her gaze scanning the faces. "I grew up here," she began, her voice strong and warming. "This town shaped me. I've watched us come together in difficult times, and today is no different." The resonance of her words filled the square, and Jack could see many nodding in agreement. "What we face is daunting, but today, we're reclaiming our stories," Avery continued, her enthusiasm infectious. Jack felt the air vibrate with the energy of shared hope. Avery stepped aside and pointed to a group of people gathered nearby. "Each of you has a story, the joy you felt at last year's Harvest Festival, the heartbreak when a neighbor faced a tough time, and the collective determination to keep our town vibrant." At her prompting, individuals stepped forward, one by one, eager to share their tales. Tears welled in Jack's eyes as families expressed the love that tied them to this place. Elderly voices spoke of their struggles, while children chimed in with bright dreams. Stories of labor and perseverance echoed, weaving a fabric of memories that transcended their individual experiences. And then, something unexpected happened. An elderly woman spoke up, her voice trembling but fierce. "We are not just stories. We are people." The crowd erupted in applause, the sound swelling like a tide, washing away doubt and fear. Jack's heart swelled with pride. They were fighting together, each vulnerable voice adding strength to their cause. Avery's next words sent a ripple of resolve through the crowd. "In a world that sees us as mere statistics, we remind them we are real, alive, connected, and deserving of a future." The crowd roared, the sound reverberating against the town's buildings. Jack couldn't help but bounce on his feet in excitement, his purpose ignited like never before. But as the cheers faded into a hopeful hush, a shadow flickered behind the crowd. Out of the corner of his eye, Jack spotted a lone figure, an unfamiliar face watching from a distance. The newcomer's expression was inscrutable, a stark contrast to the joy radiating from their gathering.
Who were they?
And why did they seem so intent on this moment? Jack felt a chill creep in, an unsettling realization that this fight was about to take another turn. What did this outsider want, and how would they affect the fragile momentum they created today? The tension thickened, like a storm cloud hanging overhead. Just as he was about to approach, Avery caught his gaze, her expression reassuring but tinged with uncertainty. Behind them, the crowd awaited direction, eager yet unaware of unseen challenges looming ahead. Jack took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. Would the community stand strong, or would the unexpected visitors shake their foundation? As the moment stretched, he knew they all depended on courage, now more than ever. Would unity be enough to protect their dreams? Somewhere in the thrumming heart of this gathering, the answer remained unclear. The crowd's excitement hung thick in the air, but as Jack scanned the faces, his heart sank at the sight of that lone figure. The newcomer stood apart, arms crossed, studying them with a mix of curiosity and judgment. Jack felt a sickening twist in his stomach. This wasn't just about the festival anymore, it was about their future. The air crackled with unspoken words, and Jack shifted on his feet. "Avery," he murmured, "do you see him?" She subtly glanced over her shoulder, her brow furrowing. "Yes." "Stay focused, Jack. We're in the moment now." Her voice was steady, but laced with concern. "Can't we address it? What if he's here for trouble?" Jack permitted worry to seep into his voice. "There's so much at stake." Avery shook her head firmly. "If we let fear guide us now, we'll lose everything we've built today. The stories matter. We matter." He nodded, but unease lingered. As the crowd continued to buzz with shared experiences, laughter blended with heartfelt stories of sorrow and triumph, Jack felt his resolve waver. Would the voices of the community be enough to drown out the potential threat lurking behind them? An elderly man stepped up to the microphone. His hands trembled slightly, drawing Jack's attention. "I've seen our town hold together through storms," he began, a quaver in his voice. "Our strength lies in our resilience, our love for one another. Every single one of us is part of this fabric. We owe it to each other to fight for what we believe in." The crowd echoed his sentiments, chanting in agreement, "Together, together." Jack caught Avery's eye again. Her determination softened the edges of his worries. "You're right," he whispered. "Now is a time for unity, not division." Just as he was about to join in the chant, a voice broke through the noise.
"People?
This is just a show for the cameras." The crowd silenced abruptly, the accusation hanging like a heavy weight in the air. The figure stepped forward, revealing themselves as a young woman, her demeanor confrontational. "The Harvest Corporation is watching. They want to see how you'll respond." Gasps echoed through the assembled crowd. Jack's heart pounded. Would their strength falter with a bit of intimidation? Would doubt seep in? "Why do you care?" Avery shot back, her voice clear and unwavering. "We're here to build something real, something that matters more than your corporation ever will." The young woman's expression turned thoughtful, but the tension remained palpable. Jack took a step closer to Avery, aligning with her resolve. "Speak for yourself," the woman responded coolly, crossing her arms tighter. "Just know, they want to sit back and watch you all make fools of yourselves. You're being watched carefully." She paused, a calculated smile creeping onto her lips. "And I'm not the only one." As her words hung ominously in the air, Jack's mind raced. The stakes had become more complex. This fight was tipping from a community rally to a battle against shadows that felt insurmountable. Energy flickered in the crowd, as eyes darted uncomfortably between him, Avery, and the newcomer. "Let us not be naive," the woman continued, her tone increasingly fervent. "There's no free lunch. They want to see which of you will cave first." Anger stirred in Jack's chest, but he channeled it into clarity. "You don't know us," he called out, his voice strong. "You think we're here for a show? We're here for our lives. For each other." The crowd murmured in agreement, but Jack could sense the uncertainty clawing at some hearts. Avery stepped forward beside him. "We want to let fear dictate our future. We stand together or we fall apart. Our stories, our struggles, they bind us like family." A chilly silence hovered in the air after her assertion, followed by some tentative nods from the crowd. Jack felt a flicker of hope igniting once more. They needed to stand firm. Suddenly, the woman's expression flickered again, revealing a hint of vulnerability.
I
only warn you because you don't know the lengths they'll go to," she said, her voice a fraction softer. "I was there. I know." The crowd shifted uneasily at her revelation. Jack felt an opening, a chance for understanding. "Then help us," he urged, stepping toward her. "Join us in the light instead of the shadows. Tell us what we face, together." Her eyes widened, the slightest flicker of conflict crossing her face. "Can we really protect our dreams?" Jack wondered softly to Avery, glancing back at the crowd. As uncertainty danced between hope and dread, Jack realized they were all interconnected in this fight, one heart racing collectively against an uncertain future. With the outsider's words ringing loud, they stood at the crossroads between fear and courage. Would they find a path forward together, or would the impending darkness snuff out their flame? The sun rose brighter as the crowd stirred, waking from the uneasy tension that had settled in the square like fog. Jack could feel the pulse of their anticipation like a drum beating in sync. Each heart in the crowd held a flicker of hope and determination, and he knew they could summon the strength to fight for what was right. "Let us remember why we're here," Jack called out, raising his voice over the murmurs. "This isn't just about a piece of land. It's about our lives, our families, our future together." Jack felt a swell of pride at the determined faces turning towards him, their eyes reflecting his own resolve. The young woman, still standing on the fringes, hesitated. Her fierce expression softened slightly, and the crowd began to lean toward her, curiosity weaving through the tension. "We will be here for each other," Jack continued, "but we need to trust one another first." Avery stepped beside him, her presence steady. "Your stories matter. Each voice contributes to the strength of our community," she added, her voice resonating with urgency. "Let us share what makes our home worth fighting for." As if on cue, a few brave souls stepped forward, sharing their own heartfelt stories. A grandmother told of her grandchildren playing in the fields, laughter echoing in the fresh winds. A young couple spoke about planting their dreams in this town, hoping to grow old together under the wide, blue sky. Jack's heart swelled as the crowd's energy shifted. What had started as uncertainty began to morph into unity. The hostile woman who had interrupted was still watching, her expression warring between skepticism and something softer. Jack felt a spark of hope igniting within him. Perhaps she had yet to choose a side. "Join us. We want to know who you are, and what you know," he urged, turning to her. "Understanding is the first step to breaking the chains of fear the Harvest Corporation has tried to forge around us." Some in the crowd murmured in agreement, while others exchanged wary glances. The woman opened her mouth, about to respond when a booming sound tore through the air, the rumble of approaching vehicles. Jack felt the collective intake of breath, a sense of impending dread washing over them. "Stand strong," he shouted, feeling adrenaline pump through his veins. "These tires screeching are not the end." As the vehicles came into view, black SUVs rolled to a stop, the air heavy with anticipation. Jack recognized the Harvest Corporation as emblem glaring from the sides. The crowd shifted, tense with fear. And then, to Jack's shock, the door of one SUV opened, and out stepped a man clad in a sharp suit, Mr. Dawson, the company's CEO. The blistering heat of the sun seemed to reflect off him as he stepped onto the pavement, a dark presence looming over their gathering. Now, let us not create a scene," Dawson blared, adjusting his tie with a nonchalant flair. "You're causing quite a ruckus over a simple deal. I'm here to talk." His voice dripped with condescension as he surveyed the gathering, dismissing them like children in a playground. Jack's heart dropped. "We're not asking for permission. We're standing up for our rights," he shouted back, his voice unwavering. "Oh, how noble," Dawson sneered, but his smirk faltered as he took in the array of determined faces around him, each filled with courage and all focused on him. "Are we going to let him divide us?" Jack called out, turning to the crowd. "This is our moment. We're here because we believe in each other. Let us show everyone what it means to stand united."
Fought.
A voice rang out, and like a chain reaction, the others rallied in return. "We fight." Dawson's expression darkened, yet he pressed on, trying to pull them apart with honeyed lies about compensation for their homes. "This land could become something incredible, something that will bring in tourism," he boasted, his eyes glinting like sharp knives. Only an elderly man spoke up, a firm yet shaky finger pointing at Dawson. "We don't want your resorts. We want our roots." The thunder of agreement resonated through the crowd, walls of distrust beginning to crumble. "They think we'll sell out. They think we can be bought." Jack raised his voice above the noise. "But we stand here today, not for money, but for our home." Avery stepped forward, her gaze fierce. "This isn't about profit margins. It's about preserving our way of life." "Say it with me. Unity, unity," roared the crowd. Dawson stepped back, the confidence draining from his face as the escalating noise washed over him, drowning out his attempts to manipulate. "You will regret this," he muttered, retreating towards his SUV as the townspeople advanced. Before he had time to disappear, the young woman who had been watching stepped up, her brow furrowing in sudden determination.
"Wait,"
she called out, and everyone turned. "I used to work with Harvest Corporation. I know their tactics. You can't let them divide you with fear." Gasps echoed through the crowd, disbelief mixed with hope. Jack felt a palpable shift. "Then join us. Tell us what you know." He reached for her, extending his hand. "We can fight together." And as the final lines began to blur, that young woman took a step forward and grasped his hand. He could sense the foundations beneath their feet quaking, forcing them to redefine the lines of their lives. Jack turned back to the crowd, a fresh wave of optimism washing over him. Together, we can forge a new future. A future built not on fear, but hope, freedom, love. Their voices soared, the spirited when and where began to overlap. They were standing together, tearing down the darkness. The storm outside had cleared, replaced with a harmonious message that broke through in shimmering rays. Jack felt warmth spreading throughout. This was something beautiful. They were the heart of the town, and it would only grow stronger with each soulful word and promise shared. "Are you with us?" Jack shouted, the determination roaring in his heart. "Yes," echoed back, unwavering and wild. Hope glimmered in his eyes. "Let us take this forward. Let us ignite change for our community, and let us tell the world that we will not back down." As they stood there together, all barriers seemed to break, weaving resilience into their stories, the wind now a gentle caress, a partner cheering them on as they transformed their fight into a victory of community. In that moment, Jack Thompson finally understood he had found his true family. He had weathered the storm and come out stronger, and nothing could tear them apart. The fight wasn't over, but together, they felt invincible. Now, this was just the beginning. If you enjoyed this heartwarming story of resilience and community, you need to subscribe now to the channel. We have more amazing exclusive stories coming your way. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and help others discover these transformations. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible tale. It's time to rally together, just like Jack and his community did.